helped to repair the playground at Gibson Elementary. So I think she'll be coming back at the next meeting. So we want to honor her. I believe we have some. Yes, so if Ms. Moore, Dr. Pruitt Adams would like to come up, and also Dr. Patton, if she would like to come up as well. And Ms. Margot. Also, hey there, Dr. Patton. So we already honored Dr. Patton for her Urban League Award, but Dr. Pruitt Adams was out that board meeting, and so I didn't want to have Dr. Patton sign her own certificate. So we have a certificate for Dr. Patton. It was a great event at the Urban League Women and Leadership Gala, so we want to honor her again. That's it for the review. Thank you all.
You're the best.
So while Ms. Morrow is coming back, I will, if I get my chair up, say mine.
You're the best at stuff.
We have an amazing football team. I don't know if everybody knows that, but we have a great football team. And they have made my understanding a lot of progress over the previous years. So homecoming is on, almost here. And we've not had a homecoming parade since the pandemic. We are having a homecoming parade, and yours truly gets to be the parade marshal. I am so excited. Our homecoming is October 1st. You can go online if they have sent out a QR code, I think it was last week, about the homecoming flyer, and you can sign up to have a float or to walk in the parade. We need to have as many schools and others to come out so that our scholars know that we support them. I also want to thank the members of my team who came out Saturday so that we could watch the game and show our scholars that we're supporting. This Saturday, the Special Administrative Board will have a retreat. It will be in this room from 8 to 1. They will think about governance and one of the most important jobs that they have, and that's to also on September 24th, we'll have our phase 2 of Unified RGSD, and that will be a select site. So schools that are putting plans out, we need to know intent what schools are going to put out plans so that we can go and make sure that we have ample supply for each time. Also, I'm doing an alternative tonight. Also, to the board, one of the things we talked about last year was having quarterly town halls. And so it is my hope that maybe Saturday or sometime in the very, very, very extreme, very near future, that the board identifies their first town hall meeting. I'll just throw out topics. There's a lot going around in the community about charter schools. Our board needs to have a conversation as to whether or not we support or not, and then have a town hall so we can hear from our community and get their input. We don't want the community to do something around us or us to do something around them. And this is the perfect opportunity to re-engage our community. Additionally, as I said before, the superintendent's evaluation, you can have that conversation, how to get report out to the community over time, the progress being made, and board goals, more importantly, board goals. As a board, you need to establish what goals you set for yourself, and then maybe hear from the community their expectations of you as board members. And so I strongly encourage you to begin to have that dialogue around town hall. Also, I too want to congratulate Dr. Patton on being one of 14 phenomenal women in leadership who were honored by the Urban League. It was a beautiful ceremony. Dr. Patton was well represented by her family and the Rooftop School District. And I just want to say you are more deserving. And now I get the opportunity to make another announcement. As you know, upon my arrival, one of the promises I made to the board was to realign sister office to be more aligned to MSIP 6. And then right after that, the state identified 3 of our schools with turnarounds. And then the state says we were going to be a part of cohort 2 for the continuous improvement. And so in that realignment, I eliminated the role of assistant superintendent for leadership and accountability and established a position of executive director of continuous improvement and Title IX coordinator. That person's role will be to work with our turnaround and distribution tree to make sure that our needs assessments are done, that our plan is in place to send to the state, which will probably happen. I just found that out. We'll spearhead the accountability committee. We'll make sure that as we move forward with MSIP, we're doing all of those things as the standards and indicators that have to be met. And we'll make sure that when it's our turn for the continuous improvement cohort in 23-24, that we have everything in place, working with CNI to get the CSIP done. And so we went through a very rigorous interview process, multiple levels of interviews where we had a team of people to conduct interviews. We then narrowed it down to 3 individuals where members of the team and myself interviewed. And then we narrowed it down again to where I met individually with each of those individuals. I will say that the 2 finalists were both very capable, and each brought to the table expertise. The person, however, who is being identified has a track record of turning schools around, which is evidenced by the data the individual was able to support during their time as a principal in various schools. So it is with pleasure that I announce the Executive Director of Continuous Improvement and Title IX Coordinator, Barbara Short.
Thank you very much. To the Special Administrative Board, certainly to Superintendent for that, and to my colleagues, my friends, and certainly I want to acknowledge my son here. Raise your hand. My daughter-in-law is over in the corner. My grandson is here. My friend and mentor, Dr. Raymond Armstrong, is here with me, and I'm just honored to stand here in the presence of you to continue the great work that I have worked to do since I've been in this district. As I reflect that, I began my career here in the month of September, and it was 7 years ago, and so I have been working ever since. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Dr. Stacey Nichols, who saw something in me and said, that's something that I need to do some work in central office. And so it has been an opportunity to support her. Certainly want to recognize my team members, CNI. I love you all, and I thank you for your support. You know, when you write out statements and you think about what you're going to say, you always find yourself at a blank, but I want to say that I'm humble. You can count on me to do the same work, the same rigor, and same intensity that I had when I first entered the doors of the Riverview Garden School District. I'm humble and I appreciate you. Thank you so very much.
That concludes my announcement.
Thank you. I'm just really happy right now, so you have to get something to call. But there is a need on your horizon. And we are at war to turn this district around. I hope that every board member sitting up here takes this serious. We are at war to turn this district around. So when I hear that people that I know are capable people, people that do it from the heart, not for a salary, I'm just happy right now. We will move on to item 7, items for information.
I'm gonna ask Ms. Sharp to come back in. This is her item. Okay. The first item is the Review Glass Travel Report for September 2022. It is an informational item in compliance with Go Effective Instruction and Board Policy GLCA. Ms. Sharp.
Thank you again. So as stated, I'm presenting the travel report for that's current for September 2022. The travel report reflects information regarding travel out of area. That travel report is organized by the individual requesting the report, the location that he or she is traveling, the dates of the travel, estimated costs that are associated with the travel, and all pertinent information. You have a 2-page document. The first page gives you a total, second page total, and then a grand total of the two. I tried to provide acronyms for you to kind of spell out the name of the vendor or the company that's supporting the travel, and I'll take any questions that you have at this time.
Thank you. Any questions? Our next item is the our update to September 8th. Making this presentation is Devon Green, Director for Facilities, Mr. Craig Lucas, our project manager, and Dr. Devon. And this item is for information. It is in compliance with policy DIAA.
No, that's just needed.
Good evening. I'm joining this grade as well. I'm going to talk about presentation. This is probably one of the first times we've given a top art update with our new board members in place. So what I wanted to do was give historical context to what a top art is. Because we very well may in the near future be doing another proposition, and so we wanted to just give some of that historical context. So for the new board members who may not know exactly what Top Art is, in the spring of 2018, the district successfully passed Proposition R. Proposition R included a series of capital improvement projects across the school district. Okay. These capital improvement projects were, there were some rooftop units that were identified that would be replaced. There were some district-wide phone upgrades that were identified. There were some electrical upgrades that were needed in central office as part of Proposition R. There was some district-wide wireless upgrades as well. There was some things done in the band room. I think this band room was over at Central Middle School, at the high school, my apologies. There were some flooring upgrades made at a couple locations, playground equipment, and other capital improvement projects. The district receives approximately $11 million from Proposition R. Okay? About $2 to $3 million of those dollars
went to the, general fund, paid some obligations, and the remaining $8.9 million went to fund those projects that we're talking about. And Ms. Green will give you a list of those completed projects. And I'm happy to say that obviously at the conclusion of our project, of the presentation, you will see that the district has kept their promise related to Prop R. There may be just 2 or 3 projects that are outstanding, that are lingering, and then we're prepared to get in closeout mode. But I just wanted to give the board an historical context on Proposition R, not to be confused with Prop P, okay? Which was the most recent initiative in April of 2021. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to let Ms. Green proceed with the presentation, and we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Go to the first slide, please.
Yes.
So again, as Dr. Singleton said, I'll just give a brief update of the projects that we've done with our. So these are some of the completed projects. As he said earlier, we have done some rooftop units, we did pilot rooftop units. We did flooring at Danforth, we did some asbestos abatement over there as well. And Highland, we did some flooring as well as some classroom, classroom renovation. We did 3 classrooms up there, we invaded the entire classroom. That means we did the floors, the windows, as well as the ceiling in 3 classrooms. We did the high school venue, we did some abatement there, as well as we did the entire fan room with storage cabinets. Next one, we did parking lot pavement, we did high school rescue, season middle school, we did complete overhaul of the pavement. We dug it up, we grind up the asphalt that was there, we removed the paving and re-asphalt the whole entire parking lot at Central Middle. We also did the district-wide telephone system, and we also did water line at Danforth. We did the phase 1 fire panel upgrade at several schools. We did the high school roof. We replaced high school roof at building 2 and building 9. We also did the dock upgrade at facility. So our rooftop units replacement, we did phase 1 in the district. In that phase 1 package, we replaced 14 rooftop units in various schools. Those rooftop units were replaced in priority order because they had exceeded their life expectancy, where they were non-operational. And some of those rooftop units were on those roofs since 1984. And most of the rooftop units are life expectancy is at 15 to 20 years. So we replaced those in phase 1. We did new playgrounds at Coke, Wilson Park, Gibson, Pasco, and Meadows. We did Danforth parking lot, as well as the phase 3 parking lot. Phase 3, we did some patching and some sealing at the rest of all of our schools' parking lots were touched, whether they were completely redone or whether they were the potholes were patched and resealed. We did central office upgrade where we put in a gas operated generator because our server is here at the central office. So anytime that there's a power outage, our light and power would stay on here at the central office so that no data is lost on the server. So we also did some drainage work at facilities. We did Westview emergency repair. That was some of the structural pieces fell in the roof of the library, which caused the beam to shift. So we had to do some emergency repairs there. We also did technology or active boards. And phase 2 rooftop units, we replaced 34 rooftop units. Again, those units were beyond their life expectancy. So we also did district-wide HVAC control, where we completed the upgrade of our computer-generated controls, where we can do automated building automation system, kind of like how you have a new, thermostats where you can control it from the computer. So that's what we do in our schools. So most of our schools are set. The power, temperature set point. Our schools are set at 72 degrees. The thermostats on the wall can go up either 2 degrees below or 2 degrees above set point. But most of all of our schools are getting ready to do. We did some roof repairs at Masters. And you see where you see the percentage where it says participation, that means that was 100%, that job was contracted to a woman business enterprise. So that was the DBE. We also did some roof repairs at Central Middle. So right now our active project is our school-based health center. We had a scheduled completion day of May, but actually it was August. And right now we're about 90% complete. Right now we're waiting to get some emergency lights installed. And once we get the emergency lights installed, we have to get inspected by the fire department. And once they see that we've done all the work on doing the emergency lights and exit lights, we will be able to, once they sign off, we'll be able to move all the equipment and furniture in, and we'll be able to start using our healthcare system. So hopefully they're going to be working Thursday. Hopefully the lights are up and the equipment will shift come in. So we're looking to maybe have our next inspection on Thursday. And the other active is our district-wide security camera upgrade. So that is 100% MBE, minority business enterprise. That was scheduled for April of this year, but we got pushed behind due to COVID and material being shipped and received. So now we're pushing back to, we have about we have the rest of the high school do and one other school moving. So this list right here shows all the projects that we shared with the voters, the projects that we would do with PROPR, what we would use the PROPR money for. And as you can see that we did use our PROPR money to do what we said we were going to do, what we told the voters that we would use this money for. So our summary, we have 29 projects that were approved by the board. 27 of them are complete. We have 2 that are ongoing. Our goal was for PROPR, I set a goal for 25% of minority MBE and 5% for women-owned businesses. So our goal was 25 for MBE and 5% for WBE. And so far today, we have 34% MBE and 8% WBE. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair. Mr. Singleton, you alluded to a potential another proposition. And if I could suggest that, this district has overwhelmingly supported our position, regarding. But I think this information here needs to go to voters as far as knowing what was done with PROPR. Now we shared what was going to happen. But I think, looking to try to approve another proposition in the future, I think it would be best if somehow in communications that we can let you know this has been done, what needs to be done in the status.
So Mayor Jones, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We have talked about this in detail in our leadership meetings. Ms. Green and I have also talked about this. And so what we plan to do in the next couple of weeks is put together not only what we have completed with Proposition R, but we also want to let the public know the progress that we've made with Proposition E in just a year and a half that we were allowed the tax increase. So in the next couple of weeks, we hope to bring some literature and some information to work with Ishmael to get some communication ready and bring to the SAB first. And then we go public and let the constituents know what we've done. So thank you.
And I also want to include some before and after pictures so that I can stand here and tell you what we've done. But if you see what we had before, it gives a whole different view to how we do so.
I think it's important too, because I think most voters, believe it or not, are not really parents. That sounds crazy, but a lot of them don't have kids that are actually going to school. And so seeing those pictures and stuff, that'd be a good idea.
I do want to say that, as Dr. Singleton and I have, I asked the question, what's our bonding capacity? And that is not to say that we're going out next week, not to say we're going out next month. But as we look at facility upgrades and different things that we need, at some point in time, we will have to have that conversation. And we realize that that's something else that we have to have a public conversation about, so you're absolutely correct. And that would be for us separate from the board town halls. This would be more like a state of the district, presenting where we are academically, where we are with regards to finance, where we are with regards to art and property. And then I do want to say I learned a very valuable lesson last week. As a layperson, I know that there's multiple air conditioners on a roof, because I asked the question, we met with the consultants who do the HVAC as well as those who do roofing. And understand what I'm looking on here, it says there's been roof repair. I'm looking on here and it says there's been HVAC. And I'm thinking, so why are we still having roofs hot? Why are we still having roofs leaking? And what I learned, I'm going to pick on the Masters. The Masters has over 32 HVAC units on the roof. I would have thought, okay, looking at the size, maybe 2, not knowing. So when you start talking about repairing, and you do it in phases, the priorities were identified first, and that's how we progress. I didn't know that. That was a lesson for me. That's something else we can share, because when the community says, well, my kids go home and say it's hot, then we can explain why it may be hot. We learned that because some of our buildings are so old, that what was current then is not current now, and then trying to replace that is also a challenge. And so it was a very learning opportunity for me. Even the roof, I knew about multiple roofs on buildings, but we're almost reverting back now to the original roof, because the materials that were used when the buildings were originally built is a much better quality material than what's currently being put on buildings. So I just encourage that when we have that conversation, we share some of that as well, because I don't know about Dr. Singleton, but it was a learning opportunity. So thank you.
I just wanted to publicly thank Ms. Green, because I know some of the struggles that you went through, decreasing your staff and what have you, but still to accomplish the goal that we set as a district. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for that, for your hard work. And then also, when we were a 3-member board, we really kind of insisted on MBE and WBE. And so I just want to thank you and acknowledge you for exceeding that goal as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Our next item is the document-based question PDQ renewal. Making this present as Dr. Ms. Tanya Ross. I am so sorry. What happens when you don't look at your notes? This is in compliance with this performance, and it is funded through our title fund, and it is in compliance with policy IA instructional materials. At the conclusion of her presentation, we would ask that the next board meeting, we approve the renewal of document-based questions not to exceed $3,300.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Jordan Adams, school community, and my colleagues. Tonight, I'm offering up for discussion us purchasing document-based questioning, which is an online resource that can be used as a tool for both our teachers and our students. The tool helps our students. I'm sorry, let me go with the teachers first. The tool helps our teachers to provide a step-by-step process for our students to create an argument based essay, argument evidence-based essay. For our students, it provides our students with real life experiences where the students are given scenarios where they have to answer questions, looking at various types of evidence, then decide what the evidence means, organize the evidence, and to produce a argument-based essay. Couple of the reasons why this is a valuable resource is number one, it's aligned to our Understanding by Design curriculum, which it focuses on the big ideas, the big concepts with the end in mind. Also, it is a solution strategy to one of the highest deficits of our data when it comes back from MAP and CFAs and the other assessments that we have. Our students have issues with providing site-based evidence. And so this resource, even though we're purchasing it at the secondary level, primarily for social studies, it can be used across disciplines with ELA and also science. In addition to math, because the students do also have to break down and explain charts and graphs. The outline that is used for document based evidence is number one, the hook. The hook, as you might be familiar with, is the same alignment as our lesson plan. And in the hook for document-based evidence, the hook is centered around a background essay that is a real life scenario. Then it is followed up by understanding a question, which is called pre-bucketing. It literally takes the students through a series of steps of how to organize and look at the data before they actually start even getting the knowledge and the understanding of an essay itself. A lot of times, we need additional support in our classrooms and actually teaching an essay as opposed to assigning it. And so what evidence-based question does is allow us to not only give the teachers the tool of how to teach it, but also the students with the resources that go along with the instruction. This is a budgeted item. We are looking for the cost to be no more than $3,375. It is budgeted through title. So I'm asking that the board, as already mentioned by Dr. Jordan Stewart-Adams, that it is approved at our next board meeting. Are there any questions? I also have provided in your attachments data, which shows our current usage of the document-based questioning, in addition to our neighboring school district uses of it as well.
You have the next item as well, which is the renewal of the Memorandum digital library.
I'm also offering up for discussion tonight the adopting of our renewal of the MoreNet digital library. The MoreNet digital library has over 5,000 publishers. It is integrated with the collection of St. Louis County Library. It provides our students with the 24/7 access, which speaks to the equity issue. We are in a process of making sure that all of our students have devices. Our libraries help support the use of the digital library. but we're also trying to, get across to everyone. It is not just a library resource. All of our teachers need to get into, using the resource as well. Professional development for this year includes 4 dates, one in September, one in October, one in November, and one in December. So our teachers have plenty of time to become familiar. I'm sorry, that's for BBQ. I'm out of sync, sorry. What else do I want to say about the digital library? We access the digital library through the Sora app. And we encourage more of that to be used across all businesses. The cost of the digital library is not to exceed $5,500. You see a different cost on the proposal because in the event that attendance reaches a certain, our enrollment reaches a certain number, then the cost of the actual proposal will go up. It actually maxes out at $5,500. It is to be paid for also by title. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Our next 2 items are being brought forward by Dr. Crystal Henderson from Gibson Elementary School. One is for an extended learning opportunity. The one following that is the interactive move system. Both are in compliance with CSIP Goal 1 and Policy IM, instructional materials, and are funded under Title I. Dr. Henderson.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Adams, Ali, and you. Gibson Elementary School is committed to student and staff growth by creating extended learning opportunities as a component of student academic growth and social growth. Certified staff participation in the extended learning opportunity for students will support our efforts to improve academic achievement while providing tutoring opportunities for students to improve in the areas of ELA, science, and mathematics. Teachers will have the opportunity to work with students before school and after school to provide meaningful instruction to ensure growth in our students. Having these opportunities establishes a supportive professional learning community that is committed to the success of all of our students. Gibson Elementary School is requesting approval for staff participation in extra duty pay for the purpose of extended learning opportunities for students before and after school paid through federal funds in an amount not to exceed $48,000, including benefits for the 22-23 school year. Are there any questions?
I don't know, I don't remember all the schools. Is Gibson part of the turnaround?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so this is not part of that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Again. Okay. Gibson Elementary School has a goal to continue to be focused on academic improvement for all students in math, literacy, and science while meeting the social and emotional needs of all of our students. The Loop interactive system will provide Gibson Elementary School students with math, literacy, science opportunities, plus more. Loop interactive system supports academic, social, emotional, and physical skills while bringing technology into PE. Students participating in engaging activities that meet academic state standards, allowing them to reinforce what they are working on in the classroom. They'll be able to extend those learning activities from the classroom into physical education. The Blue Interactive System offers spelling, numbers, addition, subtraction, calming yoga activities, and many more other academic content areas such as science, social studies, and other things. This interactive system will be piloted at Gibson Elementary School and installed in our gymnasium with availability for all classroom teachers to use. This system will also support our before and after school tutoring program and support our RTI program, which is our response to intervention. So the interventions that we're doing are timed during the school day. Gibson Elementary School is requesting approval to purchase the Loop Interactive System to be paid with federal funds in an amount not to exceed $39,220. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is Glasgow Elementary 22-23 Extended Day Programming and Professional Development. This too is in compliance with future goal 1. It's federally funded. It is tied to policy. I am making this presentation. It's Ms. Kathy Lambert, principal at Glasgow Elementary.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues, and community members. Tonight, I want to present to you approval for, well, not for discussion for the extended day programming and professional development for staff at Glasgow Elementary. Staff participation in the extended day professional development will deepen our teachers' comprehension and skill set for literacy and math. It'll provide our teachers with the time needed to plan for meaningful instruction to ensure our students' growth in the areas of ELA, math, and science. Having these opportunities establishes a professional learning community in support of doing what's best for our students. Our students' participation in these extended learning opportunities will support our efforts to improve academic achievement in those areas of ELA, math, and science also. Glasgow is requesting approval for staff participation in extra duty pay, extended learning activities, and professional development to be paid with federal funds in an amount not to exceed $83,654, and that is inclusive of benefits. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Our next item is next item for discussion is the compensation study for Ms. Gordon. Making this presentation is Michael Williams, the Superintendent of Human Resources. This item will be covered under the GOB, the General Operations Budget. It is compliance of policy GTBA and GDBA.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues, and community. Tonight I will be presenting a discussion item for compensation study. And so over the years in the River Garden School District, due to financial constraints and other reasons, our salaries have not remained competitive. We've also had to use various salary structures, which has caused some inequity in our salaries. And also the job descriptions have not been maintained. And so in an effort to ensure fiscal responsibility and also responsibility to our employees, we would like to have the district conduct compensation study. And what that will do is it will allow us to analyze what we currently have in place, put a pay structure in place, make some decisions about how we're doing things, re-examine our hiring practices, also put a plan in place to deal with some of the pay discrepancies, and then also to update our job description. So we have 3 quotes from 3 different vendors: AIM, $20,350, CBIZ, $39,000, and Educational Management Solutions at $44,995. It is recommended that the Special Administrative Board approve AIM and AIM Employers Association Training and Consulting to conduct a compensation study not to exceed 20.
Question that I wanted to ask was, did they give you an estimated time that they would think that they would need to conduct this compensation?
Yeah, so we're looking at about 4 to 6 months to complete the study. And the goal is, if it's approved by the Special Administrative Board, that we could get started right away. And then we would be able to make some decisions and have this in place for the upcoming school.
Once the compensation study is done, if they're like how would that, I guess what I'm trying to find out is, once everything is done, how would that then be presented to?
So we will share the study with the board. It's actually something like
proposal for that,
Okay,
and so we will share that information.
that's what I was trying to
with the
get around to.
Yeah. board. And so the board would have to decide on the plan, what the administration brings back to the board for phases and the recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item, also by Ms. Williams, is the virtual stipend. This item is in compliance with policy. But the budget is ESER 3.
Right. So this from last month, the Special Administrative Board approved stipends for our teachers that would deliver virtual instruction. However, after reexamining the required work that those teachers have to do, and also looking at the fact that many of our students have not had instruction from a certified teacher several years in a row. They've either had a substitute teacher in core subject areas, and so we have to make this a high deal. And so we're coming tonight asking that the SAB approve the stipend from $15,000 increase to $25,000.
Pam, a question, regarding this issue and actually the compensation. When the company reviews the salaries and is also considering the compensation virtual teaching, and they say, okay, we determined that Riverview Garden School District is not competitive with ABC School District or whomever. How do we increase the salaries to become competitive?
You can take this and I'll back you up. How about that?
Okay, so with that, as part of the compensation study, they will help us develop a plan to phase in where we want to be. And so they will give us suggestions, make recommendations of how we can get to where we're trying to get to. We might never reach what other school districts have, but maybe we can do that. So how do we get there?
The other recommendation from the administrative side, particularly from the finance side, we would have to be able to go to the point and say, this is what we can fund at this point in time, as a part of the phase in. As Dr. Singleton and I look at centralized work, as we look at other means of reducing spending, that's a way to begin to build significant fund balance. And so we have to have a fund balance, because we all know that Dr. Singleton tells us that extra monies are going to go away. And so we have to plan now on how we build a budget that will help us gradually or phase in some of the things that we will get from aid. I do need to say though, if we do nothing, we will continue to be where we are at this point in time. And that's why we're actually paying this item, asking for an increase for our virtual teachers, because we're asking our teachers to not only teach their caseload, but to pick up another caseload too, and what all comes with it. And so hopefully if we can be competitive, then we can begin to build our staffing numbers across the board and not do that. So it's like a trade-off, but it's a cost saving one way if we do it correctly.
So the teachers, I'm sorry, the teachers that are part of the virtual function, so this is instruction that they'll do after normal school hours
So they're doing it during the school day.
and their regular classes as well?
Yes. So for example, if I am a virtual teacher, I'm teaching in classroom A, and I'm being streamed into classroom B. And then the next day, I may teach classroom B and be in classroom A. And while there's an IA in there, that teacher is still responsible for lesson planning, for the instructional piece, grading. So they are actually teaching during the day.
Thank you.
The next item is the after-school tutoring program. This item is in compliance with Go 1 Strategy BC, Go 4 Strategy C. Comes from the general operating budget for curriculum and instruction is in compliance with policy ICAB. Making this presentation, Dr. Stacy, this is Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Adams and colleagues. This evening, I would like to request discussion for the implementation of the after-school tutoring program. College will receive additional instruction via in-person tutoring session and or virtual tutoring sessions in the areas of math and literacy. The cost to implement the after-school tutoring program will not exceed the amount of $74,456.
Is it in person or virtual?
Yes, so we're going to start off by implementing the program in person. However, due to the COVID situation, the numbers increase due to COVID, we will transition to virtual.
You have hours, or you said after school, like,
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. It will be implemented after.
like from 3 to 4 or 6?
Yes, I have that. So from 3:20 to 4:20, it will be implemented at elementary school level. From 4 to 5, it will be implemented at middle school level. And 2:45 to 3:45 will be implemented at the high school level.
And is this the one where you have to have a minimum of 5 students to participate?
At least 5 to 10 students. Yes.
Where you got more than 10 students?
Well, if we have more than 10 students, we will seek to acquire additional teachers to support the scholar.
And this is in addition to the paper tutoring program that we have, it's 24 hours.
Yes, ma'am. The paper tutoring program is an online program that students can access outside of the school day or during the school day. However, this program is only run on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So when the students are not in session on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they will also have the ability to access the paper online. And that's available also on the weekend.
Dr. Nichols, I was just, I commend you all for having the tutoring session, but, my concern is, how do we really instill in parents that this is important for their students? Are there any things that we're putting in place to help parents understand that their child needs to take advantage of these types of things?
Yes, so during the parent conferences and when teachers are making contact with parents, this is one of the resources that we highly recommend to share with parents during their IK process or when they're conducting one-on-one sessions or student.
Do they do it before it gets to student, teacher conferences?
Yes, they may do that. We highly recommend that the teachers at the building level communicate with the parents on an ongoing basis. You usually make phone calls home, and doing that process so they can recommend resources and also put in place a reading and or math.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is the Rooftop School District Professional Development Plan for 22-23. This item is for discussion. It is in compliance with CSEP and board policy DCL and GCL AP1. Making this presentation for Rooftop, Executive Director of Continuous Improvement.
Thank you. Again, good evening. So the presentation tonight is to present and share information as it relates to professional learning. And so you will see and hear the words professional development and professional learning as we work to embrace state standards. You'll begin to see and hear the word learning more frequently. And that's the direction that's coming forward actually. Bringing forward organization that creates standards for professional learning. So I share that with you as you begin to look at the plan. So this plan, basically, the information I'm going to is I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. And notice we have a 69-page document. And so I certainly want to be very succinct. But so these are the key points that I'm going to try to give as a brief overview. So I'll share with you that one more time. Maybe turn this on.
Go to the next slide. Speaker's not responding.
Okay, so I mentioned about professional learning standards. And so these are standards that guide the professional development for school districts across the country. And so you see that there are seven standards. And so we incorporate all of these as we're beginning to engage in planning for professional learning. I want to point out in terms of mandates, we are at the district, all Missouri schools are required to maintain a professional development committee. And the professional development committee.
I'm not touching anything.
Okay, so let me try this a different way. Okay, so we're looking at structures. And so these are just some structures that will occur as it relates to professional development. We have a committee in place. This information just articulates for you that we have a certain number of members within the PDC. We have a process that determines how they're selected. We have representation from every building. We have an ex officio. I serve in that capacity as well as Dr. Nichols. And so we basically create the guidance and the structure, but it actually becomes the PDC members who are actually engaged in the planning, et cetera. So at the end, near the end of my presentation, I'll share with you what's called the bylaws. These are bylaws that were created by the PDC, so it helps to guide the work that we do. We do operate under Robert's Rules of Order, and so we have a set agenda that we create. That agenda, I will provide some consultation. Oftentimes, there may be a section of the agenda that gives me an opportunity to give some feedback to the committee. But for the most part, we are a professional organization engaged in planning and discussion. Mentioned earlier about my role as ex officio, but also people that are part of the committee, they serve, there's an election and a nomination process. And so I lead that process, but primarily those individuals that are on the committee are elected nominated. So this is the other slide. It's giving you some of the duties and responsibilities in terms of working with mentoring program, working with professional development plan, making sure that that is outlined. They're responsible for tracking PD. So any PD that occurs, you will see that a PDC representative will approve it in one form or another. And they serve as a consultant to teachers, and especially with the new teachers that are in the district. Want to just talk briefly about funding and expenditure. One of the things that I was charged with when I first assumed this role was to make sure that the money was spent on time and that the money was spent appropriately. And so I have taken, I'm going to back up. When that does not occur, that the spending does not occur, that means that the district can be placed in a position in which we lose funding. So I have taken that as a personal mission to make sure that I'm watching all of the dollars so that I make sure we are meeting the guidelines as required by the state of Missouri. So in terms of the budget that's allocated to me, I'm required to spend 75% of the 1% that's allocated to me. And so since my tenure here, I have not, the district has not gone into the negative. We've been successful in that area. And that's kind of just restating it. But the main point I want to make here is that the plan is aligned with the CSIP. I know that oftentimes you receive a lot of information, and that's certainly included in the plan, 69 pages, that's a long plan. But I want to point out to you in terms of learning, research tells us that it takes 50 hours plus in order for an individual to learn new information, to learn a new skill. And so it also requires that 50 hours or more requires sharing in and out of the classroom, as well as observing in the classroom, observing other teachers teach, engaging in discussion. And so our plan does meet that criteria, so that we've been really trying to work and engage staff. This page here just gives you an outline of the way PD was divided for the year. So the yellow days, days that are listed in yellow are district days. Those in blue are building days, and then we have green, which are the teacher work days. So the structure of the plan, you have a lot of information. There's a table of contents that's provided for you. So I tried to create some organizational structures. Embedded in the plan, you have the new teacher induction. We have the new teacher orientation that occurs prior to school starting. And then we have various things that occur, learning opportunities that occur throughout the year. That's whether we're writing curriculum or engaged in different types of academies. The PD is planned and based on a needs assessment, and we look at a variety of different data. And so we also use a variety of different learning designs. So whether we're talking about face-to-face PD, or we're talking about having modules, we could have a hybrid type of model. The list just varies, but we really have been working to move from traditional and trying to transition into more job embedded. So you'll see something in the plan that talks about job embedded PD, and you'll see where people have choices. And so those are anything, topics that are specifically required, but that is an interest for teachers, or they have a choice in selecting some of those pieces. I talked about the alignment to the CSIP, and certainly that the needs assessment is there. And when I look at the needs assessment and some of those components listed in that last bulletin, that gives an opportunity for teachers, first-year teachers, teachers needing some additional support. We have a lot of models that are on the district webpage. We have some models or examples of PD for them that's in our kickup, and so they can go into the kickup system to get that information. Here, it's basically a summary of the plan. So we have some of the main topics that we have covered for the year. And then at the end, I talk about just two examples, which is art in education. That's for our K-12 art teachers. And then model teaching is a platform, and it is diverse and used for all kinds of things. In the appendices, there are three areas I want to bring to your attention. One of the things that we have been working on since my leadership has been to engage in a trend, a timeline, if you will. So it has spelled out in terms of the role of the professional, the PDC, the role for me. It is spelled out in terms of things that we do for mentoring, and anything that is a responsibility comes under the professional development office. We also see that there is a 2-year plan. We always try to project, so we're not waiting till the last minute. So as we're meeting, we're planning, we try to get our thinking out. So we make sure that that's documented in the plan. And then finally, you'll see are the bylaws. Those are the bylaws that were created by teachers. So this is not anything that's coming from leadership. It's not top down. This is coming specifically from teachers, indicating based upon their observations, these are the structures that we need to help them to operate and do the work that is needed to be done. So that concludes the presentation. I would encourage you, if you have not had an opportunity looking back at the end and the appendices, that is where the actual planning work occurs. And I'll take any questions that you have.
Just wanted to say that one of the things that I was going to ask you, because I didn't get a chance to finish reading all of it, but I am glad that there is teacher input into it. Then I did want to ask a question about This group compensated?
Um,
I think that was a discussion that we had many, many years ago.
yes, several years ago, I came to the board and requested compensation. And so all of the work that's done by the PDC has been volunteer. This year, we were successful, and when I tell you these individuals work long hours, they work extremely long hours to get this work done. My work is critical, but they also are giving feedback to the work we do. So this year, we were successful in writing a grant through Ms. Williams and Human Resources. And so there is a small amount that is being allocated for them to do that grant. So this will be the first time that they have been compensated for time with us. And getting this work. So that's really,
Thank you.
thank you.
The next item is extended day programming and professional development for Central Middle School. Making this presentation to Rick Clark, principal at Central Compliance and Board Policy IM, CSIP, and is coming from Title Dollars.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, colleagues, and community. I am presenting an extended day program in professional development as an item for discussion. Central Middle School is committed to creating extended learning opportunities as a component of student academic and social growth. Increasing and improving instructional skills, literacy, and math achievement remain goals that we have at Central Middle School. Participation in the tutoring opportunities while engaging staff in professional development will continue to make an impact on success. Staff participation in the extended day professional development will deepen comprehension skill sets in literacy and math. Central Middle School is requesting approval for staff participation in extra duty pay, extended learning activities, and professional development to be paid with federal funds in the amount not to exceed $35,000. This is inclusive of benefits. Are there any questions?
Basically tutoring.
This is tutoring, but it's also professional development for our staff. Additional. So this would be outside of this.
Thank you. The next item is the memorandum of understanding for student support services. Making this presentation is Dr. Tommy Adams. And at the conclusion of her presentation, she would have concluded.
Dr. Henderson? I couldn't resist. Good afternoon, NCB members, Dr. Jordan, colleagues, and community. Tonight I bring before you additional MOUs to support our students. These MOUs are supported under the quarter since tax increase that was passed in 2008. And we have been fortunate that many of our students have been able to benefit from these supports. Some of these supports are presented to our students during instructional time, if it allows, and then some are presented to our families and students after hours if they need help with doctor visits and with social emotional support. So tonight I'm seeking approval for the MOUs that I'm bringing forward from Alive and Well, the St. Louis Area Food Bank, Jewish Family Services, Preferred Family Healthcare Presbyterian Church, and Soul Fishers. And they provide a variety of supports for our students, from mental health to food services to scholarships, just various. And it's all free. Let me say that again, it is all free. So I am requesting approval of the MOU with the organizations that I mentioned. Are there any questions?
I have a question, Doctor. Do you have, is there like a finite number of non-for-profit organizations that
the district works with, or can someone else make a presentation to you?
Someone can make a presentation. I actively seek MOUs to help support our school district and our students. So yes, someone can make a presentation, as long as it falls under the Children's Service Fund and if it's free of charge. Most of the time we will take it. However, we always make sure that it's not, that we don't have several other organizations providing the same service, because then they kind of cancel each other out. So, yeah, they are free to present to me if they would like to do that. You're welcome. Thank you. The next item is the special school district evaluation and partnership agreement joining Dr. Patton and Dr. Chad district. This item is in compliance with collaborative cultures under CSEP and policy IGBA.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. School community. I'm here to present some information with Dr. Patton. We're doing it together because it's a partnership agreement between Special School District and Rooftop Gardens. The partnership agreement has been around since around 2005. It was first written using a bunch of stakeholders from different parts of the county. It was actually began with the partner district wanting to have this plan or agreement in place just so that we could have some guidance, support conversations on how we're going to work together to make sure that students are successful. So there were some revisions in this in May here. So I'll go back one step here. The partnership agreement has 7 different large categories. One is, for example, staffing. We have student services, data and technology, and education. So all these are areas that we want to work together and collaborate with. Under each of those categories is additional indicators that we would work towards. So recently in July, May, June, this area, there was a revision to the partnership plan. There were just a few things that were changed. Some additional emphasis on equity. There were also components under teaching and learning where they want us to, as directors, special ed, be working with Dr. Pruitt Adams more closely, making sure that our plans are aligned with what Riverview Gardens is wanting to do. And then also just having that follow up at the end of it. Hey, how did we do on our goals? Definitely receiving that feedback from Riverview. Some additional areas, collaboration responsibility. One thing that they added for the evidence of that is to have us more involved with our Parent Advisory Council. So we'll be participating in that. I know with this one area, we've been working with trying to get more people involved, Riverview families involved with that feedback. We want to try to bring that information back to Riverview. And then again, about the equity piece around student services, data, and technology. So one of the things that we do with this is in the fall and in the spring, we do a rating of basically where we think we are. That's Dr. Patton and I sitting down and just going through it and saying this is working, this isn't working. And so you can sort of get an idea of what that looks like. There was attached to the board notes also the evaluation that we did. And then based on that, we identified some specific indicators that we want to work on. We looked at the ones that were most aligned to what Riverview Gardens is really trying to accomplish with MTSS and RQI. And I'll let her step in.
Okay, and so there are a couple action steps that we will focus on. That focuses under teaching, learning, and accountability, as well as student services. One of the things that we have talked about is putting together an MTSS team. We were waiting for our new executive director of continuous improvement to be in place. So congratulations, Ms. Sharp. And so we will be working with Ms. Sharp and trying to develop that team to conduct a gap analysis for our school district and develop action steps to move forward. Another area that we're going to focus on is collaboration and responsibility and resources. And that will be more of having Dr. Lynn present to our building principal to get a solid understanding of the special education process within our district and their part in that. And so we have him, he will be presenting at our principals meeting next week to, just to help our principals along in understanding the process and letting them understand that they really do have a voice in that process. So those are the two areas that we will focus on, and then we will rate ourselves at the end of that to see how well we've done.
So just some important dates. We've already accomplished a couple of these, which is to sit down and do the rating and then also present it to the special administrative board. What we're asking is for next step would be signatures that you would agree to work collaboratively with us to ensure that students are being successful. There's just a few kind of overall ideas about that we want you to support. Basically that you would endorse that the vision and mission and belief statements in the plan will help benefit students. That will work collaboratively to provide equity to our students. That we believe that the education partnership plan will actually support and help us move forward. And then also that we're going to work cooperatively as we move forward. And so if you agree with those things and what we are asking for signatures on that you support that and endorse it, and that would be the end. Any questions?
Thank you. The next item is extended school day, and this one is for Oak Elementary. In the absence of Ms. Johnson, to not be here, Dr. Henderson is graciously agreed to present her item. The item is federally funded and in compliance with policy.
Good evening again. With our permission, I'm presenting tonight on behalf of Principal Johnson for Polk Elementary School. The purpose of Polk After School Learning Academy is to think outside of the box for ways to reach their most vulnerable scholars. The Polk After School Learning Academy allows scholars the opportunity to receive in-person instruction in a small group setting to provide intervention strategies to address the skill deficits in the areas of ELA and math for 1.5 hours a day on Mondays through Thursdays after school. Then on Fridays, they allow their teachers to meet to analyze data and plan for instruction for the upcoming week. Polk Elementary School is requesting approval for staff participation in the Polk After School Learning Academy to provide extended learning opportunities for scholars and will be paid through federal funds in an amount not to exceed $37,875, inclusive of benefits for the 2022-2023 school year. Are there any questions? Okay.
That concludes the item discussion.
But now move to item 9, which is approval of the consent agenda. May I have a motion to?
So move.
May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Okay. At this time, we have one other item that board members, and I thank you for your patience this evening. So I'm going to adjourn this meeting, and I'm going to request a motion to. I can make a motion. So then may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting and then a motion move to executive session?
So move.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
But at this time, I'm going to ask everyone that is not a board member, are we going to be? I'm going to ask everyone, and thank you all for your patience this evening, who is not a board member, if you will. Executive